Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Future Stars live on Hidayat TV. I'm your host Hassan Shah, and today we are going over some more fiqh lessons, and today we are talking about halal and haram foods, and we'll be going to talk about plants, and we're going to talk about animals as well, and also sea and fish life, and seeing if they're halal and what makes them halal and what makes them haram as well. So before I continue, I'd like to introduce my guest.
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Misbah.
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Lawson.
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Hussain.
Thank you for that introduction. So like we do on every show, someone reads the surah, someone reads the translation. Misbah's reading surah, Mohsin's reading the translation. Okay, so can we start them off with a loud salawat? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farajhum.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفر إنه كان توابا. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, and Allah Succor and the Triumph comment, and they see the troops entering the religion of Allah, troops in Him the praise of the Lord, and seek forgiveness of Him. He is ever ready to show mercy.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farajhum. Thank you for that. So remember, whenever you're reading a surah, to read the translation as well, so you know the history behind it and how you can implement it into your life. Okay, so today we are talking about halal and haram foods. So we're going to be going over what makes a food halal and what makes it haram, and what are the types of halal and haram food in like animals, like land life, and in the sea as well. So like fishes and stuff like that. So we'll be going through that today. And how do you think, why is it important to go over this?
So you know what you're eating and what you shouldn't be eating.
Yeah, and you know, and this will be part of 2 shows. So we're gonna do 1 show next week as well, explaining about the drinks and ethics about how you go along to a place and how you can eat, and if you know it's halal or haram, and stuff that you need to ask people as well. So that'll be in next week's show, but today we are just talking about food and what makes it halal and what makes it haram. Okay, but before we start, can we have a salawat in honor of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farajhum. Second, in honor of our holy first Imam, Imam Ali alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farajhum. And third, with our loudest voices, in honor of the Imam of our time, Imam Sahib al-Asri was the man. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farajhum. Okay, so Hussein's got the first thing, so can we have another loud salawat? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farajhum.
Allah says in the Holy Quran, O people, eat from the land which is permitted and good, and do not follow in the footsteps of Shaitan, for he is an open enemy to you. Since food and drink are essential for the survival of humanity, Allah has given clear guidelines on what we can and cannot be consumed. In addition, we have also been instructed in manners and behavior of eating, so that it becomes a way by which a Muslim remembers the bounties of Allah and by observing the rules of Sharia. But he also shows his commitment to his religion. Furthermore, Allah has made the habit of eating an important factor in establishing social unity. He has encouraged the sharing of food with each other and stressed the merit of giving food to the poor and needy. This becomes obligatory when certain sins are committed. for which the penalty is to feed poor Muslims. Thus, we can see that this subject covers a wide and important area of Islamic Sharia. Salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil. Thank you, Sayyid. So Sayyid over there went over a verse in the Quran which talked about food and food that was to be talking about the importance of what Allah has actually told us to eat the food that we only Allah has told us, not to eat the things which He hasn't told us. So and he also, what did he also mention? You remember? What was he talking about?
The manners of eating.
Yeah, he said that in this like topic area, which is the manners and behaviors of when you're eating and when you go out to eat as well, and when you're in home and when you're at home as well. So that's also two things, and that's important. And he also mentioned about a thing that we're going to be covering next week as well. We're going to be covering next week about the manners and behaviors of eating as well when you're out and when you're in the house, and talking about how can you think and in your mind as well, if you go to this place, will it be halal or will the food be haram? So you have to go there and you have to question things and think about it. So that's quite the important things that Hussein has mentioned there. So Misbah, you've got the next thing. So can we start Misbah with the loud salawat? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farjum.
Food can be primarily divided into two sections: plants, fruits, vegetables and grains. All these can be eaten as long as they are not harmful to human beings. This means that they must not contain poisonous or neurotic substances such as drugs. Living creatures. These can be divided into three groups: A. Those that live in the sea; B. Those that live on the land, sea birds. Salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farjum. Thank you for that, Misbah. Okay, so there she talks about some type of groups that we can put these things that we eat in, which he said plants, grains, and like crop life. So and she talked about that you are allowed to eat these, just except if they're not bad for you and they don't cause harm to you. For example, like poisonous plants. If you would eat a plant and it would poison you and make you ill and possibly kill you, or plants that have like Misbah said, narcotics, like drugs as well. And she talked about stuff like that, narcotics which have narcotics in, that is not also allowed in Islam, because as a plant you cannot have that plant. So there she mentioned, because Islam mentions clearly, see the things are also, this comes in with najis stuff as well. So the things that it mentions, those are the things that are najis, but the other things are all what? What are all the other things? If a few things that Allah has mentioned and the Prophet has mentioned are najis, what are all the other things?
Clean.
Yeah, clean and park. So this means whatever Allah mentions are those things. The rest of the things which are not coming into that are all what?
Clean.
Halal, if we're talking in food. So all of these things which Allah mentioned if haram. So we're going over plants and grain. So all the plants that are poisonous, that will harm you, and any plants that have narcotic substances in them, which all will be haram. The rest of all plant life is halal for you to eat. So it's really clear how Allah and the Prophet tells us whatever the things are bad, all the rest of the stuff are okay. So thank you for that, Misbah. Okay, Mohsin, you've got the next thing. So can we start Mohsin off with loud salawat? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farjum.
Sea creatures, in order for the fish to be halal, is It must be removed from a live water. It does not matter who's done the fishing or what method has been used to catch the fish. We are allowed to eat any fish as long as it has scales. Haram all other sea creatures such as whales, sharks, turtles, lobsters and crab, exception and prawns and shrimps which can be eaten. Salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil fajr. Thank you, Mohsin. So Misra mentioned in the other thing that we were talking about just now, she mentioned about some other three categories as well. So she said sea life and animal life, like on land animals, and birds. And Mohsin went over sea creatures there. So he mentioned that the fish. So for fish to be halal, it has to be taken out of the water alive, and it doesn't matter who's done the fishing. So if it was a Christian, a Jew, or any other person, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Huh?
Or how they caught it.
Or how they caught it. So it doesn't matter in what technique they got to catch the fish, or who done it, or so those two things don't matter. But the thing that matters is that when the fish is fished and taken out of the water, that it is alive when taken out of the water, and also it has to have what?
Scales.
Yeah, it has to have scales. So scales are important things, and Moshe mentioned another animals that in the sea that are haram as well, that you cannot have, which is
Sharks.
he said sharks, whales, lobster,
crabs,
and crabs. And he said in exception of shrimps and
shrimps
and it begins with an F.
Squid.
No, not squid. That's haram. Scallops. So he mentioned shrimps and
Scallops.
those are things that are actually halal, that you are allowed to eat. So he mentioned what you are not allowed: sharks, whales, lobsters, and I think that those were a few of what he mentioned, and a tortoise as well he mentioned,
and reptiles,
and crabs, and I think that's all that I mentioned. And then he mentioned all the halal thing. So there he mentioned, talking about how the fish is supposed to be catched and been taken. So it has to have scales, and he mentioned all the things that you were allowed to have and what was haram. Okay, so that's really important to tell us about these sea creatures and how we are supposed to actually catch them, and how and what we are allowed to eat from the sea. Misbah, you've got the next thing. So can we start, Misbah, off with the loud salawat? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farjahum.
The land creatures. This term covers all animals that live on the face of the earth. Allah has permitted the eating of some and forbidden others. The first 5 verses of Surah Al-Ma'idah, Surah number 5, give a summary of the commands regarding what is permitted to eat. Halal domestic animals: camels, cows, goats and sheep. They all possesses a hoof or a cloven hoof. Wild animals not kept in enclosures: mountain sheep, wild cows and asses, gazelles and deer are permitted. Locusts are permissible, makruh. Horse, donkey or mule, undesirable. Haram animals that possess canine teeth, pointed or fangs. Example of such animals that are sometimes eaten by man are dogs, rabbits, elephants and monkeys. There are specific verses in the Holy Quran forbidding the eating of a pig. It is not permitted to eat reptiles such as snakes and tortoises. Insects such as fleas and lice are also forbidden. Salawat.
Allahumma صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعجل فرجهم. Thank you, Miss. Okay, so at the start she was talking about land animals, so the animals that lived on land, which one she was talking about, halal or haram. So the first bit that she talks about was the domestic animals, like sheep, camels as well, she said, and what else did you say? Goats,
cow.
Yeah, cows, and whichever had a hoof, like a
Hoof or cloven hoof.
yeah, a cloven hoof, they were halal to eat. So some might say as well that pigs are domestic animals. Some people may say that, but in the Quran it has like Misbah said, it has verse that say do not eat the pig, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. So also, what did she say about some other things? Now we're talking about wild animals now, which were not kept in enclosures.
Mountain goat.
Yeah, mountain goat, deers, gazelles, they're all permissible. And she also talked about horses, donkeys and mules. They are allowed, but they are called the undesirable animals. So they are allowed to eat, but that's just a name called to them. So so those were horses, donkeys and mules. And then now she went to mention what did she mention after that? Can any of you remember? Then she went on to talk about the haram food, didn't she?
Yeah.
What was one of the things that made the food haram? Animals with what?
Animals.
Talking about the teeth now. Canine teeth.
Or fangs.
Or fangs.
Dogs.
So dogs, rabbits, wolves, and she also then goes on to mention monkeys.
Oh yeah.
Monkeys.
Cats are also, because they also have canine teeth. So those are all haram things that you can't eat. And then she went to talk about specifically pigs, which are not allowed, and there's verses in the Quran that says that they are not allowed. So thank you for that, Misbah. Okay, so Hussein, you've got the next thing. So can we start Hussein off with the last salawat? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farjahum.
See, birds, halal, the body is covered with feathers. Those whose flapping of wings while flying is more than gliding. If a particular bird flight is not known, then before eating one must check for the presence of one of the following: a crop, a bag-like swelling of a bird's food passage. In the crop, food is prepared for digestion. A gizzard, a second stomach where the food from the first stomach is ground up. A spur, a fork-like extension on the bird's foot which performs the function of a talon. Thus, chickens, turkeys, pigeons, and all small birds are permissible to eat. Even ostriches and peacocks are allowed. Haram, birds of prey possessing talons, claws. Every bird which when in flight glides more than flapping its wings. Salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farjahum. Thank you for that, Hussein. So there he went to talk about birds as well. So that was one of Mishpa's sections which she was talking about. So so we went through sea life and land creatures. Now we're going through birds. So he mentioned any bird that flaps more than what they glide, they are halal. And then he went down to talk about some other features that were that was on the bird to tell, if you don't know how they fly, that you check these in order to check if they were halal. So talking about a few things, and one of the things were where they keep second stomach, and also where they keep some of their food. You know how some birds, they have like that thing over there, which if they catch fish or other animals, that they'll keep it over there. That's a few of the sections which Hussein was talking about.
And its foot.
and it's talking about its foot as well. And then when to talk about most any bird
which has claws or like nails or something, and they glide more than they flap.
Yeah, and if they glide more than they flap their birds, they're also haram. Meaning, you know, birds of prey like eagles, stuff like that, that would catch their and go out to catch their prey. They're called birds of prey.
They're haram.
Yeah, they're haram, and so you are not allowed to have these these birds. And then he went to talk about so some birds that can't fly actually, that he talked about them that as being halal as well. So even ostriches, any of you? Yeah, peacocks as well, chickens, they all can't fly. They can't fly, can they? But they're halal. So some birds that can't fly, are also halal as well. So do you know what ostriches are? Yeah, they're like big, but they have wings and they don't fly. They're halal as well. So these are just some important things to check in a bird, so to see if they're halal or haram. So Mohsin, you've got the next thing. So can we start Mohsin off with the loud salawat? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farjahum.
Birds of prey like eagles, hawks, and vultures are haram to eat. Crows, rooks, and ravens should not be eaten either. Other birds which can fly but are not classified as birds, such as bats, bees, and other flying creatures, are also haram. Note that in case there is one is in danger of dying through starvation, anything including forbidden things can be consumed to save lives. However, this must be done as a last resort and only, and the absolute minimum must be eaten. Salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farjahum.
Thank you, Mohsin. So can you any of you remember what he said? What are you talking about, Mohsin?
I was talking about eagles, vultures, hawks, and insects such as bees, bats are haram to eat. But if there's, for example, if there's a pig and if the last resort to survive, then you can only eat it.
Yeah. So he mentioned about insects as well.
Flies and mice.
Yeah, flies.
Mice.
Lice, they're all haram. So insects, they're haram. So then he was mentioning some birds. Well, what did he mention?
Vultures,
eagles, hawks. They're all what are they? Haram, yes. Because also, what do? They catch their prey, don't they?
Yeah.
So that's one of the things. And then he went to mention about last resort of surviving. So if there's, like, say, for a pig or an insect or even a bird, eagle, for example, if it's your last resort to survive, it is halal for you to eat. It's halal for you to eat it. So if there's any bad situation, like some people that they endure, like something like famine. You know what famine is?
Yeah.
Yeah, like when all the crops doesn't grow, there's not a lot of rain. Yeah, and not a lot of the animals will survive, like cows, stuff like that. Not a lot of them will survive, but birds and insects, they will survive, most of them. So it's halal for you to eat. So this is just things that you should know if in a bad situation that you are allowed to eat. So thank you for that, Mohsin. Saying you've got the next thing. So can we start with saying off with loud salawat? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farjahum.
Slaughtering, according to Shias, all animals and birds that are permissible to eat are nevertheless forbidden to a Muslim unless they have been correctly slaughtered. The laws for hunting differ slightly and can be obtained from books of Islamic laws of various The correct method of slaughtering involves the stimulators, cutting off the gullet, windpipe, carotid artery and jugular vein of the animal with a sharp knife. The conditions for the slaughtering are as below. The one who carries out the slaughtering must be a Muslim. If possible, the instrument used to slaughter should be made of iron. The creature to be slaughtered must be made to face the Holy Kaaba. The person performing the slaughter must mention the name of Allah as he slaughters the animal. There must be a normal emission of blood from the animal after slaughtering. The animal must show some sign of movement after being slaughtered, especially if there was some doubt whether the animal was alive before being slaughtered. Salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil. And then he mentioned rules of slaughtering as well, the animals. So when you kill the animal, what you are supposed to do. So the animal has to be. What did he say? Can any of you remember? So the first thing, the animal also has to be alive. That's the one thing. So if it's dead, that animal is not halal. So if you went to slaughter one animal, say it's sheep, and the sheep has already died, you can't then slaughter it and then cook it up and eat it, because that is haram. The animal was supposed to be alive. And also he mentioned a few things about some rules of other things that hunt.
The person who's slaughtering the animal they have to be a Muslim.
Yeah.
And the instrument that they use must be made out of
iron. And then we're going before that, we're talking about, so he mentioned about rules of hunting as well, which he never talked about, and those are different to what we're talking about right now. So then, and also these do you think that these are only the rules which go towards it being halal? You think these are only? Do you think that's it? No. So that's why. So that's just the rules of how you kill animal. There's some rules before it which also make sure it's halal as well. So it's not allowed to be one dead, and which Hussein talked about, and it's not allowed to have any bacteria in it, not allowed to be ill, it's not allowed to have any cuts or anything on it and which have been infected. So these are just a few things to make sure that it's halal as well, and it has to be. And one of the important things as well, that it cannot see another animal being slaughtered as well. That's one thing. So if you're gonna slaughter one animal, the other animal that you're gonna slaughter next cannot see the animal of the other before the animal being slaughtered before it, because you don't want to one important thing, you don't want to distress the animal, do you? So that's one of the laws which go to slaughtering as well. So let's go through what we've talked about now. So it has to be alive, and the person who's slaughtering has to be a Muslim.
It has to, when the person's slaughtering it, it has to say the name of Allah.
Yeah, say the name of Allah.
Must be made out of iron.
Yeah, the knife or whatever you're cutting with must, if possible, it doesn't have to be, but if possible, should be made of iron.
And it has to be facing the Holy Kaaba.
Yeah, it has to be facing the Holy Kaaba as well. That's just a few of them. We're not gonna go through all of them, because what do we normally do at the end of the show?
Quiz.
A quiz.
100%.
Mohsen already knows what I'm gonna ask. Okay, I have 100%. Hussein? 99? 99. Okay. These are multiple choice questions, so it's got A to D questions. Okay. Number 1. Foods can be primarily divided into the following two sections. A. Plants and vegetables. B. Fruits and vegetables. C. Plants, grain and living creatures. D. Desserts and meat. Misbah?
C.
Yes, C. Plants, grain and living creatures. 2. In order for fish to be halal, it must be A. removed from the alive from the water. B. It does not matter who done the fishing. C. It does not matter what method is used to catch the fish. D. All of the above. Same?
D.
Yes, D, all of the above. Make sure you're counting it, counting the points. Number 3 actually. Domestic animals, wild animals, not kept in enclosures, and locusts are blank, halal, which are blank, while animals with canines are blank. So let me explain the question to you because it's hard to. So the first blank is to do with these domestic animals and wild animals. That's the first blank. The second blank is to do with canines are blank. So and now I'm gonna go through these things, and you gotta guess which order this halal or haram or makruh or haram or halal and makruh, which in order they are. So A, halal haram, B, haram makruh, C, makruh haram, D, haram halal. Hussein?
Halal and haram.
Yes, the first one, A. Okay, 4. The following animals are haram to eat. A, donkey or horse, B, reptiles, C, pig, D, all of the above. Mohsin?
B and D.
Yeah, B and what?
D.
You want me to repeat the question?
Yeah.
Because I think I know what he means. A, donkey or horse, B, reptile, C, pig, D, all of the above.
A and B.
No, that's not right.
B and C.
Yeah, B and C. Reptiles and pig are both haram, but donkey or horse is they are allowed to eat. Okay, number 5. Birds that may be halal to eat are A, those whose wings are of flying those flapping of wings while flying is more than gliding. B, birds of prey that have claws, such as eagles. C, animals that fly but are not classified as birds. D, all of the above. Mohsin?
A.
Yes, A. Oh,
It's A and
yeah, it's A. Yes, A and what
C.
were you gonna say? C. So I think Miss was actually the first one with a hand up, and I'm mistakenly. Mohsin, how many points have you got now? You got 1.
1.
So how many points have you got?
2.
2.
2.
Yeah, you got 2. So who answered the second? Yeah, it was you. So I'll give you that point. So don't worry about that. Okay. If a particular bird's flight is not, but it has a crop, a bag, like swelling of its food passage, then one can consider it halal. A, true. B, false. C, it only has a spur. D, none of the above. Hussein?
A. Halal.
Yeah, A, halal. So number 7, a bird can be considered halal if it's either a fork-like extension on the bird's foot, which performs a function of a talon. A, gizzard, a second stomach. B, claw. C, beak. D, a large tail. Mohsin?
B.
B, a claw. Yeah, that's right. So how many points have you got so far?
2.
I've got 4.
You got 4. So we're nearly coming too close to the end now. A, when in danger of dying through starvation, anything including forbidden things can be consumed to save a life. A, if you make sure that you eat only the minimum required amount. B, if you make sure that you read the kalama over the forbidden food. C, if you make sure that you're eating it for a last resort. Mohsin?
A.
No, not A. I'll give that to Misbah.
D.
There was no B.
No.
C.
Yes, C. Yes, it was C. If you make sure that you're only eating it for last resort. Okay, 9. All of the animals and birds that are permissible to eat are nevertheless forbidden to a Muslim unless they have been A, washed and cleansed, B, raised on farms, C, tested for chemical contamination, D, correctly slaughtered. Hussein?
D.
Yes, D, correctly slaughtered. Okay, number 10. The person performing the slaughter must be A. Mention the name of Allah as he slaughters the animal. B. Be a Muslim. C. Make the animal face Qibla. D. All of the above. Hussein?
D, all the above.
Yes, D. All of the above. So I think Hussein's in first place. Miss how much have you got? 3. Mohsin? 2. So Hussein's in first place, and Miss in second place, and Mohsin sadly in last place. But remember, you're all winners, so don't worry. And I hope you lot at home as well learn a lot from this quiz and could answer most of the questions on this quiz. So and I hope you actually learn a lot from today's show. And next week we'll be talking about the haram and halal drinks as well. We'll be talking about that, and we'll be mentioning the manners of like eating when you're while out. So we'll see you next time, same place on Hidayat TV. But until then, good Hafiz.